We are, without a doubt, living in the twilight zone. Markets across the board go ballistic today. Dow Jones up 512 points. The rate cut or the rate cuts are on their way. Thanks for tuning in today on this Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. Absolutely crazy day across the board with these markets. The markets went absolutely crazy, but they got a lot of help. We witnessed more manipulation taking place as we saw more stories, more reports that the China trade talks were going well. This is about the 500th time now we've heard that. We got news that Mexico now wants to come to the table and talk. And of course, we got more news from the Federal Reserve today that they're going to do whatever it takes to keep propelling these markets. They do not want to see these markets fall. So the easy money is on its way. You know, I was reading a few articles today, and you know, everybody is predicting a rate cut. Some people are predicting 2 rate cuts. Some analysts are predicting 3 rate cuts by the year end. Australia, New Zealand have already cut rates. German yields are now negative 0.21%. We are seeing warning signs screaming that there is a recession getting very, very close. And you just have to ask yourself for the 100th time, if things are going so well, if this economy is booming, growing, we're seeing wage improvement, unemployment at lowest levels, etc., why are they cutting rates? Why are we seeing bond yields in the tank? We see the stock market getting wobbly. And the first thing that happens is the Fed comes in and has to start injecting cash, lower rates. These are the artificial injections that we always talk about, whether they're going to bring in more quantitative easing and we're going to see more printed money being injected, or we're going to see rates slashed, possibly going down to zero. The Fed said today that they will take action if the economy changes. They said that they will do whatever is necessary to keep the economic expansion going, meaning rate cuts and quantitative easing. The Fed and the markets don't care about long-term distortions. They want to quickly fix the problem. They don't want to prolong the inevitable. They're going to continue to kick the can down the road. And let me tell you, we are going to see, the market explode as soon as rates get cut. We could see a 0.5 point cut, 3/4 point cut. I believe it'll be more than 25 basis points. But when this happens, in the short term, we're going to see the markets go crazy. They're getting that shot of adrenaline. But let me tell you who's going to pay the long-term price. It's going to be you, because anybody who is trying to save money is going to be penalized. They're going to be punished for saving money, because you cannot earn any interest on your money. You cannot save money, put it in the bank, and earn anything. Secondly, when they bring back quantitative easing and they inject these markets with more printed monopoly money, what do you think is going to happen to your dollar? What do you think is going to happen to your purchasing power? You're going to be buying less and paying more. So you are going to pay the ultimate price. You're going to be penalized and punished for saving, and the money that you have right now is going to buy even less than it buys today. Read an article today, I believe it was on Zero Hedge, and it made a couple points about the negative effects of low interest rates and what we're going to see when rates get slashed again. Corporations will continue to over-leverage themselves to mount stock buybacks with debt. You're going to see an increase in executive bonuses, but they're not going to be building factories or infrastructure. So they're not going to be putting money into these companies. They're actually going to be taking money out in the form of bonuses, paychecks, things like that. You will have a more distorted market, even more reliant on cheap money to stop an even bigger bubble from bursting. So again, we're kicking the can down the road. The bubbles, we keep injecting these bubbles with more printed money. They get bigger, and the people who are going to pay the ultimate price are going to be you and I. So let's talk a little bit more about what's happening in the economy. U.S. factory orders, slowest growth since Trump elected. That's on Zero Hedge today. Slowest factory orders since Trump has been elected. That's not the sign of a prosperous economy. Hedge funds suffer biggest hit of 2019. That's on Zero Hedge. UK retail sales crash by most on record. So again, global warning signs of a major recession. You know, a lot of people out there will talk about the retail apocalypse being the fault of Amazon and e-commerce. And I have to disagree with that because, you know, internet sales are not a majority of retail sales. And some of the points I want to make is that we look at the shipping data, shipped by air, rail, trucking, ports, across the board. Shipping is down. You look at how hard FedEx has been getting hit this year. They're shipping less packages. So whether it's by land, air, sea, or by train, shipping across the board is down. And companies like FedEx have been down. And also, new truck orders, you know, new semi-truck orders, they got absolutely destroyed last quarter. So truckers are not buying new trucks, and a lot of truckers who comment in the posts have told me that they're not nearly as busy as they've been in the past. They have noticed a major slowdown. Another article here on Zero Hedge, global manufacturing PMI contracts to 7-year low. Not a good sign. So you can see why they're going to try and inject this market with more artificial manipulation, with quantitative easing and low rates. The writing is all over the wall. This economy, the global economy, is dying. Another article I want to go over, this is on KTLA News. You guys have probably seen this all over the place. It's been really big news. The homeless situation in Los Angeles. Now, about a year ago, I went down to Skid Row. I wanted to experience it myself to see just how bad it was, because most people said it was worse than any third world country they'd been to. And I've got to tell you, it is like something out of a horror film. It is disturbing. It's getting a lot of attention as of late. But look at these numbers. This is America. This is supposed to be the richest nation in the world. We're supposed to be in the biggest boom economy in our lifetime. Homeless within the city of Los Angeles is up 16% from last year. Within the city of Los Angeles, there are over 36,000 homeless people. When you take the homeless people across LA County, the whole county, it's up 12%. And there are 60,000 homeless people in LA County. So for such a wealthy nation, for such a incredible economy, why are we seeing these kind of numbers? And I can tell you, even in my area here in Riverside County, even this morning, I'm having coffee at McDonald's, and I see homeless people just, walking under the overpasses of the freeway. They're everywhere. It's literally like in some areas out here in Riverside County, San Bernardino, tent cities, looks like land of the zombies. And it is really frightening to see what is walking on the streets of America. And it makes me ask another question. What happens when things get really bad? What happens if the grid goes down? What happens if we have a dollar collapse? What happens when we have an economic collapse? What are people going to be dealing with in their areas? How are we going to be dealing with all these zombies? It's just frightening to think. And how close are so many people one paycheck away from being out into a tent city, living on the streets? It's no laughing matter. It's really happening. It's happening right here in America. I watched an interview about a night, I think it was last night, with Dr. Drew Pinsky. He was on Fox News. He's on some news articles today. He predicts a major infectious disease epidemic this summer in Los Angeles. We just had a Los Angeles police officer who just contracted typhoid fever. I mean, these are really rare diseases that we're starting to see here in America. Dr. Drew believes that the bubonic plague is already likely in Los Angeles. And there's been a lot of news articles and a lot of the local news and LA news showing the rat epidemic now that Los Angeles is dealing with. It's the second biggest, it has the second biggest concentration of rats of any city in America. And they don't have a department that deals with rats like New York and Chicago. They have specific departments and units that deal with that problem. LA doesn't even have that, yet they have more homeless people living on the streets than any city in America. Dr. Drew says that we have a complete breakdown of the basic needs of civilization in Los Angeles right now. And it's not just Los Angeles, it's happening across America. We have 3 prongs of airborne disease. TB, which is airborne, is exploding in LA, and it is also rodent-borne. We have typhus. We have a typhus outbreak happening right now in LA. This is caused by fecal contamination, and now we have typhoid fever. So, adding all the people living on the streets, the trash piling up, the fecal matter, the needles, and the rat epidemic now, and the fleas on the rats jumping off the rats and onto people, spreading these diseases. You have to think and ask yourself, how close would we be from some, black plague, some deadly virus disease starting in one of our cities and spreading out throughout America? It would be so easy. Just think about, biological weapons, biological warfare. They could kill half the population and just blame it on the homeless people in LA and blame it on the rats. But how easy something could get out of control. And as we're letting people from all over the world into our country, and many of these people living on the streets here now too, spreading these diseases that we have not seen in a very, very long time coming back. We now have a measles epidemic here in America. Dr. Drew says his worst nightmare is for measles hitting the streets of LA into the homeless population. It will spread like wildfire. And so these are the things that we are seeing happening in America in this booming economy. But again, markets roaring back today with more manipulation. We are living in the twilight zone. We are witnessing the rigging of these markets. We are so far detached from these markets. There is no reality in these markets. And the second that reality starts setting into these markets, you see the manipulation, you see the rigging, you see the plunge protection teams, you see the Federal Reserve. And ask yourself, one tweet or a couple words can hit these algorithms and immediately switch these markets up 500 to down 500, down 500, up 500 in a split second. Do you really think with that kind of volatility where these markets can be manipulated just by a tweet or by a couple words, do you really feel that these markets are sound? Do you really believe that these markets are stable when they're that easily manipulated? Ask yourself that. Do you really feel safe in these markets? So I'm going to wrap this up, but before I go, I just want to touch base on a couple things. Going back to the homeless situation that we have here in America now, an epidemic, it is really, really sad to see the amount of homelessness that we have here in America, whether just locally right here in my area, or if I go to LA, it's just not Skid Row. It is everywhere in LA. People are living, under freeway overpasses. They're living in ditches. They're living in tree houses. They're living in abandoned cars, people living in RVs, people living, in cardboard boxes on sidewalks and tents. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We are beyond a third world country in most of our urban cities. And yet we continue to take people from all over the world into this country while we have people sleeping on the streets, using sidewalks as toilets. We have vets sleeping on the streets. We have people who've had some bad luck, who've had a lot of abuse in their life, who have been, sexually abused, physically abused, nowhere to go. And so there's people out there that, they don't want to live like that, but they have no choice. And then, of course, we have a huge amount of people that have massive drug addictions. And so this is going to continue to spread, and it's going to affect everybody because it's coming to a town near you if it isn't already there. So we've got to do something about this. But yet, our politicians believe it's more important to continue to take people in from all over the world and have you pay for it while we're stepping over people on sidewalks and avoiding stepping on needles and whatnot. So just really something to think about there. But let's go back and just talk about, the rate cuts that are coming. Is it going to be 1? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? Comment below. Tell me what you think. How many rate cuts do you see coming by the end of 2019? Is it going to be 1, 2, or 3? Very curious to know what you think. My personal opinion, I believe it's going to be 2. And I also believe that it's really not going to do anything. I believe all it is really going to do is dig a deeper hole for America. I believe that it's going to cause higher inflation. And I believe that every one of us is going to pay the price for kicking the can down the street. When we go back to 0% interest rates and quantitative easing, I believe this is when you're going to see gold and you're going to see silver skyrocket. This is going to be the beginning of the end, when they have no more tricks up their sleeves, nowhere to run, nowhere to go. This is it. It's quantitative easing and 0% interest rates. That's it. At that point, I think the world will see that the US dollar is worthless, that this economy is in big trouble, and people are going to run for the only 2 assets that are going to have any worth whatsoever, and that's going to be gold and silver. The 2 most undervalued assets in the world right now will be the 2 most sought after assets when we see quantitative easing and 0% interest rates. This is going to be the beginning of the end because they have nowhere to go after this. It's not going to work. It is not going to work this time. So make sure you're getting ready. Make sure you're getting prepared. Remember, gold and silver are on sale right now, and you should be accumulating it right now while it's cheap. Don't wait till we go to 0%. Don't wait till quantitative easing comes out, because this stuff at that point starts going to the moon, and you're not going to be able to get it. So get it now while you can. Listen, guys, have a great week. Thanks for watching. We'll continue to monitor what's happening. We're living in absolutely crazy times. They're exciting. They're dangerous. So be prepared. Be safe out there. God bless every one of you. And again, thanks for tuning in.